Hey y'all, it's your buddy Smokey, and we're back in the lab, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the 11 rack today. Now, no system is ever above reproach. Nothing is ever perfect. Everything comes with its hot spots and its cold spots, its plus and minuses, and that's what I'm going to get into today. I'm not going to sit here and just go, oh, it's the absolute most perfect thing and there's nothing wrong with it. It's 90%, 95%. I'll give it a good solid A. First and foremost, it gets an A. And here's why. Now, with a lot of multi-effects processors and with things that do amp simulation, mic simulation, cabinet simulation, all of that, and direct recording, pretty much up at the top of the list, you've got this and you've got the fractal audio thing. And fractal audio comes with a lot more bells and whistles. This is a lot more stripped down. And that's one of the things I like about it, because while I do enjoy bells and whistles, and there's nothing wrong with bells and whistles, this, since it's a little more basic in its parameters in terms of the number of amps and the number of effects you can use, it's a lot nicer because it will appeal more to more traditional styles of players who don't have to suffer from sort of processing psychosis and paralysis because it's too hard to program or there's just too many options. You know, the way I've got it set up right now, I've got it being controlled via MIDI with a Voodoo Lab Ground Control Pro. I've got the bottom rack of the Pro set up with 4 patches, 4 amps, and then the other buttons are for kicking in effects in and out of the fly, as you would if you were running pedals into an amp. Now, the one thing that is really great about this is that you've got this wonderful impedance circuit right here at the beginning that makes sure that the impedance from your guitar is the impedance going in before it hits the processor. And the processor isn't trying to normalize everything, which has a tendency to sort of rob a guitar of its own unique characteristic and will make any guitar pretty much sound like any guitar. So if you're ever worried about, well, I don't want a box that's going to normalize everything and make my guitar not sound like my guitar, doesn't happen with this. Now, today I'm running NOLA, my custom telly, and so I've got it set up on a plexi patch, right? Now, one of the problems with, if you're running a dirty sort of simulation, is when you roll off the volume on a lot of other processing units, it just sort of will stay fuzzy and then just get squashed and die. You don't get that sort of dynamic range. So I'm going to roll back the volume on the bridge pickup here, and same patch, haven't changed a thing. Cleans up like an amp would. And it also responds to picking dynamic. And that's, first and foremost, my absolute favorite thing about this, is it behaves like an amplifier. Now, one of the other great things is, yes, you have a lot of amp models to choose from. You have a number of classic clean models. You have a number of classic, Marshall types and boogie types, and then also into like double and triple rectifiers and things like that. And when you get the expansion pack, even more, especially on the terms of modern high-gain kind of amps. So whether you're doing jazz or blues or rock or metal or reggae or whatever it is you do specifically, you will be able to write with ease something that's going to fit what you do. And also the flexibility, say with, going back to that plexi patch, that with the Ground Control Pro, the way I have it set up, I can kick in and out other effects. I don't have to be married to sort of one kind of sound on this patch. So we're going to stay a little crunchy here. If I want to kick in a little tube screamer action. If I want something delay. 440 milliseconds is my favorite number. And again, still, you know, likes nuance. And that little nuance bit was still with a tube screamer on. So here I've got all the gain that I'm going to use on that patch, and I can still not even back off on the volume control, but back up on my picking strength, and it's going to respond. So that, love it. Love it, love it, love it. So here's 4 patches that I usually use. Here's my clean patch. Default it with chorus and delay. So it's somewhere between like a Holdsworth and a Gilmore. You can still get the, you know, or kind of thing. That plexi patch that I had before going for you. And that comes in handy on just straight ahead, you know, bluesier or blues rock kind of things that I get called for. Going back to that twin I've initially used, we'll kick off the chorus and delay, put it on the front pickup, roll down the tone a little bit, pull the volume back a pinch, and nice and jazzy. So, you know, I can use this on any kind of gig. And that's just the first 2 patches. The third one, really more of a pushed Fender Deluxe kind of sound, so you're going to get a little more classic with it, but it's a little more punchy. Added a little bit of overdrive to it. Again, the model of Tube Screamer. Chorus and a little bit of phase for it. Why not? And again with this, I've got the volume pinned. I roll that back a little bit and nice and cleaned up. Now, one last patch that I use, and this is more the fusion-y kind of thing. And I always keep that set with a pinch of chorus for dimension, some delay, and a little bit of compression, and done. Done. There's, 4 patches. The only thing else I've got going in it right now is an Ernie Ball volume pedal, just the standard one, going into the effects loop just before the delay so I can get swells. But even on a high gain patch, I've got the volume rolled back. Still responds because of that wonderful impedance circuit right there at the beginning. So that's, if you're more of a traditional amp style player and you don't want to have to worry about durability, you don't want to have to worry about inconsistency of tone, boom, here you go, 11 rack by Avid. There's all your hot spots. Cold spots, the one thing that keeps it from being an A+, is on the high gain settings, there is noise. And just like any high gain amp, you're going to have noise. And so, normally you would put some kind of noise reduction, either, an ISR or something like a hush, and those work wonderfully well. Now, this has a noise gate, not noise reduction. And the only problem with the noise gate is instead of, filtering out noise, it just opens the signal and shuts it, Now, on the Fusion-y patch, patch 4, I have it set to where if I'm not playing, there's no signal at all. And you can taper the release on it. You have control over that. So it stays open as long as you want it to without, say it choking off a note that you want to hold. But it's high gain, there's noise. So, if you're going to do that, and, you say you're doing an Avid 11 rec for metal or fusion or something where you're using a lot of high gain sounds, then by all means make sure you have noise reduction and not a noise gate somewhere in your loop. And that takes care of it. That would be the only thing. So my one critique to Avid would be like, hey, can instead of a noise gate, can we do noise reduction? Other than that, the only other thing that I think Fractal has over the Avid is just simply more bells and whistles. The fact that this doesn't have as many bells and whistles, and you're not stringing 20 effects together. And, if I wanted to string all, 6 effects that I have per patch that are acting like pedals that I can kick in and out on the fly, I don't do that anyways, because that's just not what happens in my world, regardless of the style of music I play. This is really simple in terms of the algorithms you're dealing with. The interface is really wonderful. I showed you the video on that before. Just wanted to give you some more sounds and give a real honest review about this. I have been really, really happy with this. And I got this secondhand. I got it dirt cheap. They're about 800 new. You can find them secondhand online for about half that. I got it for less than a quarter of that. And, get yourself some kind of foot controller for it. It does direct recording wonderfully. Not only analog, but digital outputs on the back for it. You've got stereo effects loops left and right. You've got stereo outs left and right. Headphone jack. You've got microphone input, trim, and phantom power. So this can be an all-in-one recording situation for you. I did both live animals recordings with this. When you see any live clips of me, this is what you're hearing. Outside of the one clips from the animals that's about a year old now, that was my Carvin SX300 with a Line 6 HD 400 in the loop for effects. Avid 11 rack, I am not unhappy. As a matter of fact, I'm very pleased, and I will use this thing till the wheels come off, and I've had it almost 2 years now. Never had an issue with reliability. So there you go. It's your buddy Smokey. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. And go check one of these out if you're a more traditional kind of guy and you're curious. Thumbs up. I'll give it an A. Solid A. Give it a 95%. So it's passing grade, folks. Smokey Brown coming here from the lab. Mwah. We'll see you later.